In 1986, a group of clever-minded women in Newberg were tired of not being allowed to join the other local service clubs in town, and so they decided to create their own club. They wanted a place to learn about the important issues of their day and also have a place to discuss those issues. And so Newberg City Club was born. And after nearly 40 years, City Club is still accomplishing its mission. It's featured many prominent guests, as you'll learn about in this episode. So why is City Club so important, and how does it make Newberg a better place? Well, you'll just have to listen and find out. Hi, I'm Daniel Roberts, a local realtor in Newberg, a member of the Newberg Noon Rotary Club, an ambassador for a local chamber of commerce, and also a member of Newberg City Club, as we'll be discussing today. And I also have a separate YouTube channel about the real estate related aspects of this town. I've got buyer guides on there, seller guides, information about Newberg. I'm also creating an investment series. So if you're someone who wants to get into investment in real estate and want to learn more about that, we'll have videos coming on about that as well. But I love this town. I love helping people move here, and I really love sharing stories about all the great organizations and individuals who make this town the great place that it is. And that's really what this podcast is all about, to share stories that inspire people in Newberg and the surrounding area to get involved and ultimately have hope for our future. So I hope you enjoy this episode as I talk with Kat Ricker about Newberg City Club. Well, thank you, Kat, for being here today. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You know, I didn't tell you I was going to say this, but Kat, you've been one of my first original big advocates for this podcast. It's been fun since the beginning. You've always been a strong encourager of people coming and listening, and you were actually the one who introduced me to Megan Stewart for the Newberg Graphic. And that's how I got in the Newberg Graphic, is because your introduction. So thanks for your constant promotion of the podcast and making connections and all that. It's been fun, and now it's nice to finally have you on.
Well, thank you. Well, we really have a space in this community for the need that you fill, promoting all the wonderful things about Newberg, and it's giving members inside its community. So very heartened by your podcast project, and it's an honor to be part of it now in this chair on this side of the mic. So thank you.
Yeah, well, no, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to be the one sharing the stories. This is one of the things I really love to do. So City Club, I think when I joined, I didn't realize that you were the president. So I thought that was a fun little surprise for me, because for so long I didn't know anything about City Club, and I was surprised that I didn't know about City Club, because having become a member, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. There's so many great speakers, and this is something the community really needs to learn more about. So I look forward to sharing City Club with the community, and people getting to know more about it, and hopefully getting involved themselves. So to start, can you describe what City Club is and how it actually got started in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So Newberg City Club has a similar model to other city clubs. A lot of your listeners might be familiar with Portland's City Club, because they are broadcast on a regular radio program. But what we do is we promote issues of the day and forum for discussion for that. So Newberg City Club was founded in 1986 by a group of clever-minded women. Some of them are still part of City Club today. In case you're listening, Julie Wan.
I didn't realize Julie was a part of it. And then, sorry, who else? Didn't mean to cut you.
Yeah. Oh, not at all. Margie Lemasters. These were two of the group of original founding women. So at the time, it was actually the only civic service club in Newberg which admitted women. Isn't it funny to think that was to me, 1986 seems like that was pretty recent for that to have been the case.
Anyhow.
So that's why they began it. And so they made space for women, but pretty quickly, they opened the doors as a club to men as well.
So it was originally only for women.
That's right.
Well, if you won't let us join your club, you can't join.
That's right. But so they did decide, they formed a board and bylaws, and through that board, they pretty quickly decided to admit men to a pretty selective invitation basis in the beginning. I know that Don Clements, our park superintendent, was one of the first men to cross that threshold and break the pink glass ceiling, if you will, in Newberg. So today, most members who are incoming would probably actually be surprised to hear a little bit about that beginning history, because today it's very diverse, as you well know, and there are no restrictions on members save that they are 18 years old. So anybody can join. It's brand new to the community, longtime community members, any walk of life. All they have to do is pay for the season to become a member. And after that, it is optional whether you come to every meeting or just the ones with the topics that interest you.
Yeah. So what makes it such an important organization for Newberg?
Newberg City Club is a very important organization for our community, and I think it is growing in importance all the time because of its nature and its purpose. So officially, the Constitution was updated in 1999 and defined the purpose, and City Club does need a formal purpose because it's actually a nonprofit organization, a non-political nonprofit organization, and the purpose is to improve the quality of public decision-making and enhance the vitality and reputation of our community by providing a forum for open, informed discussion and by studying issues of importance to the group and to the community. So what that does is it gives us a space in the community to come together and learn more about issues that are important in the community that we decide are of interest to us as a group. We try to provide speakers who can deliver really unique and expertise on different subjects, whether during COVID it was health related, whether it's economics, whether it's civility issues, or even if it's some of our commodity growers, some of these different, marketing, economic stakeholders in our community. It's a really wide-ranging program. We've also had on the lighter side some entertaining personalities present, including the poet laureate. Was a wonderful guest who came and gave us not only poets but little bits of song and rhyme. And we've also had, especially around the holidays, local school groups, George Fox High School, come in and bring us together with song and holiday cheer. So we're pretty well rounded in that way.
Yeah. And you mentioned some of the examples of different people that have come. But can you share some of the recent ones? Because there's some that I've been a part of where I was kind of impressed. So, wow, this is really cool to get to hear some of these stories.
Oh, good. Well, that's good to hear. We have two programming coordinators on the board who work really hard to come up with quality guests. Since that is the purpose of City Club, is coming together to hear guests who educate ourselves on issues and having a little discussion. We don't ask for donations for projects. We don't ask people to do on-the-ground projects. It's strictly coming together, breaking bread together, and listening to these excellent programs. So some of the ones we have had this season, gosh, it's been a great season. We recently had Congresswoman Andrea Salinas talk about her first 100 days in Congress.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Thank you. And we have had the Executive Director of Oregon Humanities, Adam Davis, spoke on civility and how to deal with a divisive community. We had Heath Cornick, who was a longtime City Club board member and past president, returned to us as guest speaker and spoke on cryptocurrency. We had our own library director, Corey Berkeley, come and talk on libraries and the freedom to read. We had our State of City address is one of the annual returning topics that we have from our city manager, and Will Worthy, our current city manager, has been with us for the past 2 seasons to do that for us. We've also had our brand new, at the time, Newberg School District Superintendent, Dr. Stephen Phillips, came and introduced himself to the community through City Club. That was one of his first public appearances, as was our incoming mayor, Bill Rossacker. He came just on the cusp of him being confirmed as mayor. We've also had a speaker from Yamhill County Health and some other speakers. So yeah, that's one season.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
typical season.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been a lot. Hearing all those just makes me think: are these meetings recorded?
They're not. So this is very much an in-person, live appointment-based program.
Okay.
We have discussed possibly moving into that in the future. But right now, the common feeling is that there is so much networking that's done through, technology that makes things not pertinent to be on a schedule and in person. That right at the moment, we're really kind of valuing the concept of that. It's almost like it's coming round again.
Yeah.
Right. So right now, you need to be there in person. In order to hear any of these.
Yeah, I'm sure that from a board, because I guess that the current board at the time, their decision collectively, right, to make those calls of whether it would be recorded or whether you have to be in person, or would that be an at-large, like a voting at-large for the club?
That's that's been ongoing board discussions. We've touched on that every now and then. When the pandemic hit in 2020, that was a major shift into technology for us. So we don't have any of, the technological setup.
Yeah.
So that was new. And we did dive in and were able to go online and discovered Zoom like so many people in the world did at the time. And we did spend the pandemic stretch of time being online. We weren't able to record those. We just, for various reasons, we just kind of more of a technological, and we just wanted to get going. We're starting to look back at that now and re-examine, because we do get requests from time to time about recording and making things available after. So it's still an ongoing discussion, and I think that each board will look at that and reassess the timing of it and the resources, because our board is all volunteer based.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that's kind of a difficult decision of one, you want to encourage people as much as possible to be there in person, because it's just, yeah, there's networking opportunity. You can talk to other members and get to know things that you wouldn't otherwise know. You can talk to the speakers afterwards, potentially, if they stick around and you have a question. I'm a firm believer in being places in person when you can. And then my other hat as a podcaster, thinking, if I did these live, I might have 10 people. I don't know who would show up if I did these on a live basis, but now potentially hundreds of people can listen at a time, because they can listen when they're driving to work or when they're doing the dishes at night or whatever. And hearing some of these topics, again, this is just my opinion or thought, it would be so cool if there were these the repository, I guess, of all these topics, and people could come back and listen to and learn more about Newberg. Because what I do, I share a lot of the nonprofit side and some government side, but there's just so much, and I think that there's so many cool things about Newberg, or even just Oregon in general, that we get to hear about City Club, that I personally think, that'd be so cool if you had the opportunity to listen to one and then share it with a friend, because you're like, oh my gosh, you need to listen to this. So that's just kind of my thought. If there was, without even having audio, or without having the visual, if there's only the audio and it was a podcast, this is kind of a thought I had. But I'm sure there's a lot that would be required for for that to take place. But that's just my 2 cents of it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to hear your energy for that because as far as I know, our only podcast producing member, Daniel, I think our board would be more than happy to hear if you might offer some kind of assistance.
I would, yeah.
I'd be going with that.
I'd be more than happy. It's funny. More and more, because as far as I know, I'm the only podcast about Newberg. There may be another that I have not heard of yet. I think George Fox has one about George Fox. But to me, I think there's so many cool things in this town that there could be a podcast solely about the wineries here. There could be a podcast solely about, the different things happening in schools. I have a separate YouTube channel. It's not really a podcast, just about the real estate side of things. And I share different things within that. So in my mind, there's a lot of room for a lot of podcasts and for people in Newberg to listen to multiple. I know people's time, is very divided and there's, is scarce maybe, but I think there's a lot of really amazing people here. There's a lot of value to be given. So I'd be happy to share more, but maybe we can talk more about that offline. But I think it'd be a great resource and just get our community more involved. And that kind of leads into my next question. Why do you feel personally that it's important for people to be involved? And then also, how do people benefit from being a part of City Club?
Mm-hmm. Every day we have the opportunity to form opinions, to change our opinions, and abandon our opinions. And as new information comes in, one must reassess. And what really resonates with me, with City Club, is that the people who join this do just that. They have very precious intellectual qualities. Our members are commonly across the board unified that they have curiosity, they have open minds, they have thoughtfully formed opinions, they seek out information and facts. In this club, our members exercise their intellect. The questions that they bring to each speaker at the conclusion of each presentation are always so stimulating to me. Each person is bringing different perspective and very thoughtful questions. I think a lot of our speakers will tell me afterwards that they were surprised with the quality of questions that they got. I think by doing that, that is what makes people, or can help make people, become responsible citizens and responsible individuals in lights of hope in what can seem to be increasingly dark times. And I'm very grateful to everyone for taking the time out to come and educate themselves. A lot of my past career was spent in journalism. And to me, this is very close to the mindset of not only active journalists and reporters, but very thoughtful people who take in news on a selective basis to really digest it, not, just mindlessly taking whatever is in front of them passively, but very actively exploring things and topics. And that's really vital. And I think City Club fills a need for that.
Yeah, and it brings up another topic, I guess, of just being involved and learning in general, because many people, they go to work, they, go home, they watch their TV shows and don't really give a second thought to what's happening in their community, in their town, until there comes something they want to complain about often, it seems. And for whatever reason, I mean, like yourself having a journalistic background, you're probably a very curious person who really wants to be involved, which I would assume is also why you're president of City Club, is because you show those qualities. But it just makes me wonder, like, some people maybe have never thought about, well, maybe I should stop and actually get involved. But what do you say to someone who kind of doesn't see the value?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is a uniquely local, pertinent perspective to what can be really wide-ranging, huge global issues, and that makes it really unique. And as a club, as a civic club, I like that it is kind of built for busy people. You can be as active, as engaged, or as touch and go with it as you like. I mean, you can literally just kind of pick the smorgasbord of topics for the season and go, oh, these two, I am making time. I know I'm going to have a wonderful lunch there, so that'll be my lunch hour and my lunch meal, and I'm going to hit those two this year. And we're not going to ask anything else of you. On the other hand, there are people who make the time for this every single meeting because they really see value in all of those topics, and they see their community members, they see their friends, and honestly, there's not a lot of time left to socialize afterward. In the program, it's very tight, so we are information packed for 60 minutes, including a little club, business. But afterward, at 1:00, it stops, and the working people go back to their jobs, and we do have a space to linger there if people want to for a little while, which a lot of people do. But kind of my point in saying that is it's very self-regulated how much you want to be involved with other people, whether you want to be social or not, speak up with questions or not. It's really very flexible and amenable to your own preferences. This also a heck of a deal. $25 is our fee to join for the year.
Yeah, and you get to decide. I think it's what, $4 if you come. If you're a member, it's $4 if you just want a coffee and to show up if you're a member, and then $7 if you're not. Is that the number?
That's correct, and that's if you're just getting. That gives you access to the beverage table, and that's if you're a guest of a member or a member who's not buying lunch. If you do want to buy lunch, then we have a price for lunch at the door, and members are encouraged to bring guests, and they can take advantage of that pricing. But anybody can walk in who's not a member at any time, like you have pointed out, and they can opt for a full meal, which is one price, or they can opt for just the beverage. But they can just drop in. At election times, we tend to have candidates in, kind of high-level political figures. And so that'll drive a lot of not only members, but non-members who start to hear about these appearances of people on the campaign trail and whatnot. So they're often surprised. Oh, we didn't know that we could come to City Club and just listen to a program. Absolutely can. People are more than welcome to, and we will absolutely extend an invitation to them to join and hope that they will, but it's completely fine to just drop in like a a la carte.
Yeah. Well, it's nice too, like you said, the timing of it is it's lunch. So if you're going to go out and get lunch anyway, you might as well come and learn something useful, rather than scrolling on Instagram or whatever. And then and just from my own opinion, obviously I have a podcast about a lot of things about Newberg, but I just think there's a lot of value in learning about what's going on and being informed in a way that's not the news, because the news, I tell people all the time, the news, their business is to keep you watching. It's not necessarily to give you the truth on either side of the political spectrum. It's what can we do that's going to either make people angry or that's going to, make people, sad, like it's sensationalized. Whereas this is very informative, it's very factual, and the point is to educate. I think a lot more value, personally, should be placed on information that's educational rather than sensational. And this City Club is a great way to get that.
That's really well put. That's right. Our focus is honestly and authentically on the programming first, and then drawing membership into it after. We believe that if we put out quality programming, that will draw people to it. So when we do hit what might be a election season or political issues, our approach, because we are a non-political nonprofit organization is not to bring in people who are going to be stumping, or lobbying. But instead, we will bring in, for instance, one of our regulars for election years is news analyst Jim Moore, who's been an established news analyst in the state of Oregon for decades. Excellent speaker. And he can hone in to our local elections, state, right down to our county and sometimes Newberg specific elections, and give us a historical perspective on this, which are just fascinating deep dives that you just might not get anywhere else, to put it into perspective of the long time turn trends and what Oregon and Newberg might have seen, that in light of things that are happening in a current election is a really rich and grounding experience. It gives people context. Also, university professors, we have had professors in from Linfield, George Fox, about every season we have at least one visit from some George Fox person on some topic. So yeah, we do try to go an objective route, even during controversial topics.
Yeah, which I think is important, again, to have people who can give as unbiased, or at least as with the least amount of spin possible. So on a personal level, what made you get involved in City Club and ultimately kind of go into a leadership position?
Well, it's been quite a while since I joined City Club. Honestly, it's a little difficult to remember. It probably going on 15 years ago, I would imagine, because I hadn't been, I was kind of new to Salem Park and Rec, is where I work in my day job. And I think it was probably our superintendent, Todd Clemens, is very involved in civic groups, introduced me to City Club. And that's part of our ethos at Park and Rec, is to be involved in the community in a legitimate lifestyle manner. And so that's part of what we do. And so I did join more than one civic group. And over the years, I think a lot of it was my roots in journalism and just my proclivity for having really deep exploration of newsworthy issues that just kept me with City Club. And honestly, the members, I think our members are just a really good strain of people. And I always feel buoyant after a meeting just for having been in their company.
Yeah. Does City Club have any, you mentioned, I believe at the beginning, its mission statement or vision statement of what it's about. Does it have any goals in terms of membership or anything like on an ongoing basis, of like things to accomplish? Like, yeah, I don't know what another goal would be besides maybe having membership. I don't know if there's anything like that.
No, so we don't have any goals, and we don't set goals for like membership quotas, anything like that. The mission statement basically is to provide a forum for discussion on community issues, and that is our sole focus.
Yeah.
Another thing that we do is get out to commission. Not just commission, but candidate forums, and we represent City Club in those, whether they be school district, county commissioner, local candidate issues. So the past year, especially, I've spent participating with the Government Affairs Committee in partnership with Chamber of Commerce and George Fox and the other organizations that make up the Government Affairs Committee to help put on those candidate forums.
Okay. So as a community member, we mentioned obviously people can come anytime and be a part of it. Are there other ways that the community can get involved or learn more about City Club?
You can follow us on Facebook. We do announce our speakers on Facebook. Our website is under construction, so hopefully by the next time that we start up we're nearing the end of our season as you and I are recording this, so I'm not sure when it'll air, but hopefully at the beginning of our next season, that'll be one of the things that we'll be able to point to as well. But right now, just come see us on Facebook, and that's pretty much it. Just show up, and we'll be glad to have you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kat, for sharing everything. It's fun to be a part of City Club. I think it provides a great value to our town. And one of the things that I like to ask at the close of an episode is, given your involvement in the community and with City Club, what gives you hope for the future of Newberg?
You know what? Newberg City Club gives me hope for the future, because that's such a microcosm of the intellectual and objective and deeply thoughtful people that we have, not just in this community, but we do in spades in this community. And I know that because I see them in City Club and other places too, but they come to City Club and they exercise their intellect there, and civility, and it's a very cordial atmosphere. And that in itself, coming together there, gives me hope for our community and the world, because that's not a unique thing in the world, but it's a precious and prized thing in the world.
I very much agree. Well, thank you so much, Kat. It's been great talking to you today, and look forward to getting this out to the community. And then I think one more thing is, you have something you wanted to share, right, at the end?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to mention, so the schedule for City Club is we meet on the first and third Tuesday of each month. Our season runs from September to June. We do not meet in the month of December. And we meet from noon to 1 p.m. inside Chehalem Cultural Center, Grand Ballroom.
Thank you for sharing that, because I forgot to mention that part. Well, thank you, Kat. It's been great.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for being part of City Club.
You are very welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to the Giving Town podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend who you think might benefit from hearing it. While more and more people are continuing to hear about this podcast, I still need your help to spread the message about all the people and organizations that make Newberg so great. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode.